We're live on YouTube. So a little pre-welcome to everybody. Hope everything's well with everyone. Hope you're enjoying your evening as well. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's better. We're live on YouTube. So a little pre-welcome to everybody. Hope everything is. And here we are. Welcome everybody to the Empower Hour show, episode 56. With none other than myself, little humble me, Sukhi Wahiwala, and we are supported always by the impressively brilliant team at Salam Radio. This is our core sponsor. This show will be, hopefully next week or the week after, we'll go back onto live radio as well after this post-lockdown period. But if you've just tuned into ourselves internationally, welcome across all elements of the world. I welcome you from Asia, South Pacific, from Americas, from Europe, from Africas. It's an absolute blessing to have you on here. My name is Sukhi Wahiwala once again. This is the Empower Hour show. And tonight, we're going to be getting close. And we're going to get into the personal life or the world of Louisa Johnson. I'm going to introduce her in a second. This is the show on a weekly basis, every Tuesday evening between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the evening, where we actually ask celebrities, change makers and thought leaders who have got a commercial and not so commercial outlook to life, but basically individuals who really are creating change in the world. And we're trying to show all of our generation. I'm so humbled to know that we've got 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds listening to this show, where we're proving that life isn't always a bed of roses, but on the same token, there is always a solution to any challenge. This is the Empower Hour show. This evening, Tuesday, the 7th of July, we have Louisa Johnson. She is, hi everyone. I'm just going to give you a little synopsis on her. Her name is well understood and well known. She is a powerhouse when it comes to her voice and her vision in life and how she stood on herself. She was 17 years old, way back in 2015 when she won the X Factor. I'm not going to go too deep into anything more now, besides I'm going to get her straight with us here live on air. Welcome, Louisa.
Hi, thank you.
Brilliant. Louisa, just to let you know, basically, we're really proud to have you on the show. It's been a wonderful journey. And I know we've had a few conversations period, but it's just beautiful to have you on the show. You are such a light that we want to share with everybody in the Inspired Tribe, the Salam Radio followers, and the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's massively appreciated.
Oh, it's truly, trust me, it's our blessing that we've got you. So, Louisa, the story is really simple. We are in awe of you as a human being. Now, there's a commercial side to yourself, and obviously, of course, you're a celebrity singer, you're a vocalist, you're an X Factor winner. So there's all that adage that comes with this. But tonight and today, if it's okay with yourself, we're going to get a little bit closer to you as the human being and just see how you are as a person.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds great to me too, and I hope everyone's interested. If you're joining us live on YouTube, it will play from the end. If you join, just scrub it back to the start, and you'll get all of the actual episode. So, Louisa, the conversation I've got in my head is
Yeah.
we always start with understanding a little bit about you as a person. So, if you don't mind, where are you from?
I am from Essex. I grew up in Chafford 100, near a shopping centre called Lakeside. And yeah, I've just kind of always lived in Essex, really.
How lovely is
Never
that?
never really branched out. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
A wonderful thing to do. And I also know that you're not an only sibling. You've got a sibling as well. Yes.
Yeah, I have a brother and I have a sister.
A brother and a sister. That's right.
Yeah.
So, where do you fit? Everyone needs to know that one.
I'm the oldest, so
Yeah.
I've got a little sister who is 13 and a brother who is 18. Yeah, I'm the one that's bossy.
And rightly so.
Yeah,
So, a quick hello, hi to everybody who's watching tonight as well. If you're a sister and a brother, and also mum, right?
yeah, yeah. My mum, she's been on your show actually.
Yeah, we're so blessed to have had, I think it was around episode 39 or 40 that we had
Okay.
Lisa.
Yeah.
So we had an awesome time, and I'm not joking. So I think this is a wonderful introduction into yourself. May I ask a
Yeah.
few questions, if you don't? Yeah, if I can, just a few questions. So,
Yeah. Cool.
school-wise, I mean, the reason why I'm bringing this in conversation now,
Yeah.
Louisa, is that you hit stardom so beautifully early at
Mm.
17 years old. So usually when we have guests on the show, we sort of hark back to the teenage years and the 20 years, but you're only
Yeah.
22. So of course you've got that now, haven't you? So if I could go back a little bit further, I mean, what was life like growing up, school? This is about you.
Yeah. So you know what? Being really honest, I didn't love school. Just because I felt like I never really fitted in.
Mhm.
Um, I just didn't enjoy it, to be honest. I'm very like free spirit, creative person, and I feel like a lot of the times in schools, depending on obviously your friends and your teachers and stuff, like the people who you surround yourself with, well, I find it difficult to express my creative side at school.
Mhm.
So didn't enjoy it that much. So to be honest, I was quite excited to leave.
Bless you.
But
Um,
I did have a good time because obviously it's all a part of the journey, and
yeah.
I've still got friends that I speak to from school now. So yeah,
So those
obviously,
bonds were really deep, weren't they? I mean,
mm,
we're not sending a message out to the children, please, if you're listening. This is not about
yeah, no,
out of
we're not
school.
saying no school.
No, 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 absolutely not. Because school is also a tremendous time, even though we some of
Mm,
us don't actually enjoy some of the days, but there's other days that you do. So it's wonderful. And in this current lockdown period, and I do apologize, obviously we're in July 2020, and we are still in a semi-lockdown, and children, some of us are through social distancing protocol, are back at school, and some of
mm,
the children are. But it's still not quite normal yet, if you understand.
mhm,
It's probably like a new normal. So just a quick touch base with everybody there. So,
yeah,
Louisa, just to go a little bit further, if I could. So, school usually runs to around about 16, 17 years old, right?
yeah,
School, sorry, 16, and then you got post school, etc. But
yeah,
a question that arises to myself is that obviously a little dicky bird told me, and I know who that is. It's a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Your mum called Lisa. So a quick hi out to her. That you used to sing at such a young age. So
yeah.
what was it
Do you know
like?
what? I can't even really remember when I started singing, to be honest. I knew when I started like knowing that I wanted to do it as like a career, but actually starting singing, I have no idea. Like I really don't have any recollection of
Wow.
actually knowing that I could sing. I think it's just always been what I've wanted to do, or always what I've
Wow.
enjoyed doing. Um, so yeah,
Tremendous.
like my first memory of actually singing, I don't know, but I kind of know when I wanted to do it, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. Well, actually, your mum, Lisa, said specifically, she said that she was a singer. So she got a voice, as soon as she got any noise, she was belting at the top of her voice and get it through. And don't we know it from your voice in the real
Yeah,
world? So,
I would always do like shows and stuff for my family at home and things like that. So
oh, hang on a second. Hang on a second. No, you're not weaseling out that one. So you're telling me you used to sit there at home and do one of those shows where you could
yeah,
the Butlins, but in your home, in your living room?
yeah, I would make a great performance for them all.
Don't tell me you got your younger two as well.
Yeah, my brother used to join in with me. I used to make him dress up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was extreme.
But that was the dream, right? I'm sure. I'm sure you. I'm
Exactly.
sure you had the high heels and the as most of my daughters. I've got
Yeah,
three beautiful daughters as well. They used to wear their mums or their aunts or whoever it was shoes,
yeah.
which were like
Hmm.
massively big with a heel, and do a bit of a dance as well in the show.
Yeah, that was me.
Amazing. So I got a question. Now, a lot of the audience here and the Inspired Tribe and the followers of myself humbly across the globe,
Yeah.
also the Salam Radio crew and the local people here in the little old town Peterborough
Hmm.
tuning in tonight, they don't really know you as a person. So is
Hmm.
it okay if I ask a few questions about you? Because
Yeah.
thank you. Where I wanted to go with this conversation was something along the lines of this. Um, Look, we sing. We had, a fairly mediocre total time at school, for example, but you still made some graceful friends. So
Yeah.
these friends that you made, you said that they're still your friends today. Yeah,
Hmm.
is that right? So
Yeah.
what do you believe? is important sometimes with that bond between friendship?
I think you have to have like a mutual understanding of each other. I think obviously friendships grow and they fade and they come back together and all that kind of stuff. And I think the one thing that, well, I mean, from my experience, that keeps a good friendship is understanding each other,
Mm,
um, and respecting it and like respecting the boundaries. And yeah, like if somebody needs something, you can kind of tell without them even saying it. Like that's just kind of what
wow.
I've seen as a good friendship. And like
What a
it don't
beautiful.
matter what time it is, you can call, and they're not going to get annoyed if you turn up at their door and you're crying, or you know what I mean, just little things like
Yeah,
that.
I get it. What a beautiful
So,
message to the generations. I mean, this and a friendship can be at any age, right? So from a child through to even a person who's on the other end of their life, where they're in the mature years. Is that right?
mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think you kind of know straight away if you feel uncomfortable in a friendship because you will hold back or you won't say certain things, or yeah,
Mm,
you
yeah.
just know. I think in your gut, you might not want to admit it, but you just know.
Yeah, one of those things. I mean, when we spoke the very first time, in essence, it becomes we became very respectful of each other, but there was something that just seemed to have connected. Is that right, Louisa? So
Yeah,
that's kind of what we're talking about, a symbiotic connection. Is that right?
yeah, yeah,
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask a few questions because I know the audience doesn't know you as the intellectual that I know you as. So the question I'm going to ask is if I can just ask a little open-ended question.
yeah.
The kids of today, so they're isolated and they're away from their peers, their friends,
Mm,
their buddies who they've grown up with. And of course, we have these mediums of VoIP, voice over intellectual property protocols and stuff. But
mm.
my question, internet protocol, sorry, but my question to yourself is deeper. How would a child, or should, or could a child kind of just reach out and keep connecting with their friends, even through a semi lockdown? Because a lot of families, like my own family, are still
Yeah,
isolated because we have somebody who needs shielding within the
yeah.
family. So, have you any thoughts on this?
Well, that's where I think the good side of social media comes in, because you can you can really be in someone's life by not being in their life on social media.
Wow.
Um, because you kind of can see what they're doing, and I mean you can FaceTime them, which is basically like being in the same room.
Mm,
And I think that's a really positive part of that whole thing, because the connection is there to, I mean, with friendships, I think they're like relationships. And
yeah.
I always think that people get a bit confused because, I mean, if I love somebody and, just say that they're my husband and I love them and things go wrong, you work on it. But sometimes with friendships, you don't really see that happening. Like you kind of drift apart, and that's that. You don't work
Mm,
on it like you would a, husband and wife relationship, or something like that. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's
I get that.
really, really important to keep that connection there and keep I know you can go months without speaking to someone and it's exactly the same, and they're the best kind of friendships because
Mm.
nothing changes. But I think it's good that we have like social media to keep us in the loop of what's going on and being able to connect with them in a different way than we usually would.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great message. So we're talking about friendship. We're talking friendship. So this is a relating ship in essence, in a relationship. Common knowledge has kind of moved two concepts together by on an
Mhm.
etymological basis. We call it a relationship. But you just touched on something really beautiful there, Louisa, where you said specific that you have to work out that relationship, right? So we call
Yeah.
it a relating ship. A ship is
Mhm.
kindred ship, the kindred spirit, the person who's related to you, but you have to work on relating to them. So I love this. And the message you just gave there, sometimes friends drift apart.
Yeah.
The understanding is that us as humans, you mentioned this before, we grow and we change. So our
Mm.
only perception in life is to understand that as we grow and change, maybe our relationship with the same people should also grow and change. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And
Yeah.
mature and evolve.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're not ever going to be the same person as you were yesterday or even like a week ago. And I think that if the connection is strong enough, well, I don't even know if it's about the connection being strong enough. I just think that you need to work on it. Like it's something you have to work on. You have to work for everything else in your life. So these things aren't just going to come easily.
Beautiful.
And I think a lot of people think they just, hand on a plate and you love someone until the end of time. But there's going to be problems in everything. So you just need to work on them. Yeah.
With the ups and downs. Wow, wonderful. Beautiful. So great nuggets already. And we're going to get very deep and close with all this very shortly with Louisa. So I'm going to ask a little bit of questions. So let's go back to, just if I can, your kind of singing career.
Yeah.
When did you actually, because I know, as we mentioned just a moment ago, that you sang at a very young age, but when did you personally, that's a parent, the parents kind of knew you had a voice. What happened? How did you stimulate yourself to, singing at home at, doing a show for your family is a bit different to filling a stadium with 50,000 people in there or 20,000 people in there, right? So what was the first transition when you started to actually feel, because there's always that point of understanding that I can do this or I have a voice to share. I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's a voice, whether it's another skill that one is honing, what happened for you? What was your journey in that?
Well, I basically, as I said, like I knew I wanted to sing since so young. So it's really hard to go into detail on that part because I'm like, it's just always been in me, like it's
Yeah.
always been the thing. But there was a time when I went to like a caravan site. You used to get those little like holiday homes by the sea. We would go to one of those every year, and they had like a talent show, and my dad just put me down for it. And to be honest, I was like, oh, okay, I'll go with it. I was really young, and I thought, oh, I'm
Go
gonna,
lucky.
I'm
We'll
gonna
just
give
do
it
it.
a go. Yeah, why not? I didn't care about anything then. I was like, yeah. And I spent all day in my dad's truck practicing "I Will Always Love You," Whitney Houston.
Oh
I
my God.
literally
So not even a small track. This is
no,
I Will Always Love You, one of the biggest ballads of all time, right?
yeah, and I literally
Wow.
spent about 5 or 6 hours in there. I didn't have any words because I didn't have a phone or anything at then. So I just listened to her voice and just kept playing the song. Oh my God, I must have played it 100 times
Wow.
more to learn every word.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when it was time to do the performance, I actually forgot most of the words.
No,
Yeah,
I can see that.
I
Oh
know. I
my God.
think I was so nervous because I'd never performed in front of like a crowd before. I felt sick. It was horrible. But yeah, forgot all the words. And then one of the ladies came up on stage to help me. Um, but I won.
And you still won.
I think people just felt sorry for me.
Amazing. But no, actually, do you know what? Sometimes we will say people felt sorry for you. But I'm going to ask a question. I mean, what advice do you give to anybody who is trying to remember lyrics? Because that's a really significant point, isn't it? What we call it, we call this a kind of like a determining point in your life. What
Mm,
actually shifts you, and at that particular moment, you win
yeah.
a a, a singing contest, right? And
Yeah.
and so the techniques, it obviously must have added something to you as an individual, but what techniques did you hone thereafter to start to remember lyrics? And are there any tips that anybody could follow?
I think since that day, from what I can remember, I've always just listened to songs to learn lyrics and to do stuff like that because I think it just kind of gets ingrained in you. You don't really have a choice. You just know them. And so I think repeating things personally for me works. Um,
Wow.
because I mean it's kind of like with anything, like even with a habit or something, if you repeat it so however many times, it does become an actual habit. So
Mm.
yeah, for me that's the best way of doing things.
So one of the key things that you're trying to say to somebody is that um, relentlessness, commitment, and
Yeah,
repetition, right? So that your rhythm,
yeah,
the rhyme actually fits in. Because
yeah.
there
And
is
it
a
and it really is as simple as that, to be honest. And people always get it muddled up, and even I do. I think I overthink sometimes, like, oh, am I doing it right? Or you know, things get caught up in your head, other people's opinions get caught up, and you just go back to the basics of like, well, if you keep doing what you're doing and you've got good daily habits, then you're kind of unstoppable, really.
love it. And so the question I'm going to ask is, this is actually something that comes by a lot of young children. So I've been speaking to many, and
Yeah,
we have okay. So there's obviously there's many significances to vocals. Yes.
yeah,
Obviously, there's the warming up, and if you don't mind, I'll talk a little bit about that a bit later, if it's okay.
yeah, cool.
But there's the vocaling up. If anybody wants to keep
Yeah,
themselves in a lovely voice environment, because I'm going to say to yourself, I have to play from my heart that you are a powerhouse. You were an absolute pocket rocket.
Thank
We were
you.
willing you all the way through X Factor way back in
Mhm.
2015. And if I have a significant memory of a singer, and it was you, because we thought, oh my
Um,
God, she's such a darling. She's so little. She's so like young and she's so mature. And this
yeah.
voice just came out of everywhere. And just like it encompassed
Um,
everybody. So I'm going to ask a question, if I may. There are many different facets to singing, but if
mhm.
you've got a brand new song to learn, let's say, like we said, the Whitney Houston track,
Yeah.
there is
Mhm.
one of the hardest vocaling tracks there is,
Yeah.
I believe, from the film Bodyguard. Now,
Mhm.
you've got the lyrics as one thing, then you've got the melody in essence, isn't there? And then
Yeah.
the technicalities.
Mhm.
Yeah? So if I could just, as a dimwit myself in that space, you had three sort of areas. Do they just synchronize with each other, or is there some kind of an order of importance? Should we learn the melody first and then put the voice on it and then add the intricacies on there,
Yeah.
the acrobatics? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? Everyone is so different in that kind of sense because a lot of people, like when I go into the studio sometimes and I like working melody first, I like getting the rough idea of the song in my head and kind of learning it and just humming it or something like that.
Mhm.
And then kind of picking up the words to it, just keep listening to it. It kind of does all end up like that, but I generally
Right.
start with the melody. Um,
Brilliant
just
tip. Brilliant tip.
and that's why it's so important to have, well, not important, but that's why a lot of people have catchy songs because it gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so quick. You don't even need to learn it because it's already in there. But yeah, I'd say
Brilliant.
definitely I start with the melody. Yeah.
So kind of step one is kind of the melody, because I
Yeah.
can resonate with that. That's like you hum a tune
Yeah.
way before you know the lyrics or the
Yeah.
intricacies of the tune, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then what's the next most important thing out of the three?
Um, I would say I wouldn't say anything's more like important than the other, but obviously you need to know the right words, unlike me.
Mm.
So I'd say focus on the words after that. Um, and yeah, then I think, do you know what I think is the most important part is the last step of making it your own. Um,
Wow.
because I think that you can sing anyone's song, but if you I don't know, you can sing it the way they sing it, but when you put your own twist on it, that's what makes it special.
Mm.
And I've always liked to do that. And I always actually got told when I was on X Factor to sing it a certain way. And I just thought, I can't learn like that. I have to do my own thing on it. I'm not showing off. I'm not trying to be annoying. I
Right.
just cannot. It will not go into my head unless I do it my way. Um, and obviously, you take the right advice from people, of course. But
Mm. Yeah.
if something feels right to you, then you do it. That's all I'd say.
So basically what I'm trying to get here is that
Mm.
you've just hit the nail on the head for
Yeah,
myself anyway, and I hope everybody who's watching this is really getting the buzz from this as well, because you know what, it's really rare to get a vocalist to actually sit there and tell the truth about how they feel.
yeah,
That last section you said, getting the lyrics and getting the melody in your head, getting the lyrics in place, and then the third aspect of it is the intricacies of making it your own.
yeah,
And that's just beautiful, because I have to admit that logically, whether it's the platform of any professional platform, X Factor or whatever, the point is
mm.
they obviously want you to fit a certain sequence and certain profile. But when somebody makes it their own, as a listener,
It's
wow,
so special, isn't it?
so
I
special.
don't think you can deny it. I think, singing it perfectly is a safe option, and that's fine. That's literally fine too. But I just prefer going down my own little route and, making it my how I would sing it. If it was my song, how would I want it to sound?
Mm,
Um, I don't want to just copy other people. But it's also good to take inspiration from other artists. I know I've definitely taken a lot of inspiration from Whitney. Um,
yeah, bless her.
and a lot of the way I sing is how she would sing with the from here and the big, loud, pronounced sounds. I've definitely taken that from her without even realizing. So
Mm.
that is good to do too.
Like an unconsciousness that you said, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what we listen to regularly, what you repeat in your head within in the personal development world. it obviously seems to be transpiring directly from the vocal industry as well. The more you listen to certain vocals,
Yeah,
the more nuances you pick up. Is that right?
yeah, definitely, definitely. It just kind of happens without you even realizing.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So what an amazing bit of information there for everybody who's trying to be a budding singer, and not only from anybody, but from somebody who's an X Factor winner. You know, because yeah, we've got a whole generation, Louisa. Just so I can share that, you know, being well, thinking that the only route to market, in essence, for a vocalist is via these. Not just X Factor vocal, not just X Factor
Yeah,
voice. It is some form of what we classify as a, I suppose you could say, in essence, this is reality TV as well. Kind of style of platforms is the
yeah,
only way forward. Now,
hmm,
if there was something within yourself, I mean, in specific, a defining moment,
mm,
one of the key things that most children have,
hmm,
or even budding singers, you know,
yeah,
people who are struggling, maybe they're out there busking, or maybe they're out there you know, well, not right now in pubs since Friday, yes, Saturday, yes, but you know, if
mm,
they were clubbing and pubbing and doing gigs like that.
yeah,
My question to yourself it's sorry, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here, but it really,
all right,
really helps. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I've been asked to ask you as well.
yeah,
Do you feel that your journey was just a bed of roses? I mean, is there something that you could, a significance, that defining moment in your life with reference to your singing? I mean, was it exactly what you expected? I mean, is that inner relentlessness which I'm trying to create
yeah,
in other people?
yeah. It was definitely not what I expected it to be at all.
Mhm.
Um, like you, when you're young, and even when you're not young, when you just don't know, you're just unaware. You watch TV and you think it's like really perfect, and everyone's having a great time, and
Mm,
it's all glitz and glam, and you get what you want when you want, and you know it is like that to a certain point. But when you're young, you kind of want it to just take everything away. Like not that you have so many worries when you're young, but
yeah, yeah.
you kind of want your life to be perfect and like a film. And when you're actually in it, it's really not anything like that. You still have to work hard and well, just even harder, to maintain that. And it also, it creates, I wouldn't say problems, but it creates new like challenges.
Mm,
So the ones that you think are gone now, there's obviously challenges in whoever you are, no matter where you come from or whatever job you do.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
So just that's a really poignant point. Thank you for stopping there for a second. Okay, so we're talking about challenges,
yeah,
stretches in one's life beforehand, but you
mhm,
visualized, um, I suppose you could say, a bit of a fairy tale version, as I think you said, mentioned it before when we had discussions, that version of what this could be like, of being celebrity stardom.
yeah,
And then it kind of wasn't like that. There was an air of, I suppose you could say, you mentioned it earlier on, molding you. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. I'd say so. Like you kind of get, well, it's kind of like do this or do that or
Mhm.
be like this or I don't know, talk like this, sit like this, and
Yeah.
it's
As opposed
just
to the,
it's just draining. Like
yeah.
I am who I am at the end of the day, and you do get so caught up in it. Like I mean, personally, I come away from it thinking I don't even know now what I should do or what I should say or how to have my hair, or silly little things like that,
Oh,
because
wow.
it's always like there for you. So
Mm,
do this, do that, blah blah blah. And you know, as great that is sometimes, when it, for example, like during lockdown,
yeah.
it's just like kind of gone out, it's out the window, and you're like, what? What's going on? And that just sounds like such a first world problem, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, no, no.
But
But it does. But I can understand where you're coming. The sentiment is
yeah,
that certain frameworks are put in place for you. For example, what I've
yeah,
just taken from that conversation, if I can just repeat a little bit, is that sometimes when you've got an event or let's say a gig or a booking, you would have the outfit done for you, you got your hair done for you, you know, your look, and in
yeah,
some cases, it's got there's your that's what you've got to follow. And I can feel where you're coming from. But then when without it, you know, without, for example, this lockdown period, you have to kind of find yourself, right? Because something
yeah.
is sometimes.
yeah, even like down to the outfit kind of thing. I would like something and I'd be really comfortable. And you know how it is when you wear something you're not comfortable in. It is probably like one of the worst feelings because you just don't
Absolutely.
feel yourself. And especially when you've got to go and do your job and be the person that everybody wants you to be in an uncomfortable situation, it's not great. Um, and
Hmm.
you feel good in something and then somebody says no. It's like, what? I know this is so minor, but it is like a lot of things. It's not just outfits or whatever. It can kind of relate to anything. I've been doing something a certain way for a long time, and then somebody comes in and tells me no when I'm not in my comfort zone anyway. I don't feel great anyway.
Wow.
It can really knock you, and it's just a bit like, what? I'm, you know, wearing an outfit is the least of my worries right now. Like, I really don't care.
Hmm.
But it's just kind of like putting it into context with other things.
Do you know, honestly, Louisa, thank you so very much for being so open and honest with the audience today. The Empower Hour is just standing for this, and we've come to halfway through already. I told you this is going to go like whoop, whoop, just disappeared, didn't I? I said you won't even recognize how it's going or how it's working, and
Yeah,
the next thing will happen. We're finishing as well. We're halfway through. So if you don't mind, I just get a quick synopsis. If you've just joined the Empower Hour show with myself, Sukhi Wahiwala, we are live and personal with the Louisa Johnson, the X Factor winner of 2015, the sincere, absolute, pocket rocket when it comes to a voice. Really, truly inspiring, and we were rooting for her. Please do, if you're watching this as a live program, please do scrub it back on YouTube Live. Watch it from the start because we've covered an awful lot already in such an amazing. And there's so many beautiful gems and nuggets in there about how to keep yourself in mindset. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Louisa, I'm just going to, if I could just push it a little bit further, if I may.
yeah,
You've touched on some beautiful contexts there that it can be challenging for an individual um, with losing oneself.
yeah.
So how did you, or how would you advise, or how would you counteract that and tend that? How did you manage it? Because we are talking about um, kind of losing your own identity in the sense of I feel comfortable wearing this and saying no, you got to wear this other color or a particular outfit in a particular way. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
what sort of steps do you go through personally to get yourself in the right space?
Um, to be honest, it's kind of like you have to live in that moment and like kind of sit with it for a bit to realize that, no, this is not right. I don't like this. I don't like being told who I am. I don't like being told how I should talk, sit, act, be, look, what I should say. And then I, personally, it kind of got to a point where I just got fed up. It wasn't really like,
Mm,
oh, this has happened. I just thought, no, I can't do this anymore. And as scary as it is thinking like that, because you're always like from school and stuff, you kind of have to follow everybody else's
rules.
way. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've never been like that. I've just always been so opinionated and I do what I like to do. And it's
Yeah.
like I like things how I like things. Um, but obviously that's what life's about. You live and you learn. And
That's
yeah, I
quite
think it just got to a point where I just thought I'm better than this. I am a person. I
a
have value. So yeah.
so that is really, really important for everybody to understand. If I can just share, if you don't mind, I just evolve a little bit on that. I think the fact that you've just touched it a couple of times there, where you're kind of finding yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's not about rules and regulations are always wrong. Sometimes the boundaries that really truly serve you. I mean, it could be the most simplest of things: waking up, please, that within a set time, going to work, going to school, being disciplined in your art of vocals. Not just waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and trying to expect how could I say it, the studio to be opened.
Yeah.
And kind of within the schedule. I get that, and that's absolutely where I know that part of you is not the freedom element you're trying to understand. I believe, is it correct in saying that the artistry, the flair, the oneness with it, that connection you're talking about, stamping your own version of it, that's where you love your flexibility and freedoms. Is that right? Expression.
Yeah, that's who I am. I just like going places with things. It's really hard to even explain because I don't even know what it is myself. I just like being free and I like
Hmm.
doing that's a creative side of me and anyone that's creative will know. And you know, not everybody is, and that's fine. They like, you know, certain things certain ways. Everybody has their own little thing. But that's just mine, and I like being able to try new things and experiment with things and just have fun and
And
just have fun with life. That is literally it.
I love
Just
it.
have fun with life.
I love it. So not really, in essence, the
I don't want to
variety.
be in a box.
Yeah,
I
the
don't,
box. I was about to say that. Just
yeah,
the box is not there, and also the variety of
yeah,
life, and not being there. So that's lovely. So to redefine yourself. So I'm going to ask you to help us a little bit. You know, there's people
yeah,
here who are going through this similar sort of thing where
yeah,
people are telling them what they think is good for them, and in the sense of vocals and singing and even
yeah,
writing lyrics and stuff. So um, this is not about saying, um, because you're far from that arrogant individual. In fact, you're probably one of the softest, warm-hearted individuals. You're very similar age to my daughters. So I see them. I see you as a daughter in that context, if I may, just as a humbling way of saying it.
yeah.
But I also know that you've studied a little bit when it comes to psychology, psychometrics, and stuff of that sort of nature. Is it correct in saying that as long as an individual finds and makes the effort of looking for themselves, that they could create that robustness in life? If I know myself, I know where I can create a plan to go somewhere.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that in every way, because I feel like recently, especially, I've really looked deeper within, and that's not being all like woo woo or anything. It's literally just I want to know why, what I'm here for, and what should be serving, and this makes me happy. So why does it make me happy? And doing more of the things that do make me happy, and coming away from the things that don't. And that's not even just about jobs. That's about like relationships, and
Mm,
even, I don't know, the color of your walls.
I get it.
If your walls are red and red makes you hot and bothered and angry, then paint them a color that makes you feel calm. Like, it's your surroundings, it's who you surround yourself with. And I would never have been speaking like this a year ago, because
No,
I just didn't really know. Like, I knew, like, in here, but I didn't know how to project it and how to
had to
say
express it.
anything. Yeah. And the more I learn about myself, I realize that it's so important to know yourself. So important.
So, in your context, I mean, you've done a lot of what we classify as alternative and esoteric sort of learnings and understanding.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's necessary and super important to as part of a tool system to learn yourself? How did you manage it?
Um, well, as I said, I kind of got to a point where I just got fed up with even myself. I was like, I'm really doing this again. I'm really missing breakfast
Mm,
again. I'm really not eating until 2 p.m. in the day. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling this. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I still, I don't know, in this relationship? Why? Do you know what? Just all these
yes,
little
the hard
things that make
graft. Nothing. I think was being. From what I
the
hear, you kind of
tiny
lost your
things.
volition.
Yeah, even feeling like you have to text someone back that you're not really the biggest fan of, just because you feel like you have to, just because that's just what you're told, to be polite and be nice.
Obligation.
Which, yeah, of course. But you don't have to surround yourself with anyone that you don't want to surround yourself with.
Mm,
And yeah, I just got fed up with myself,
wow.
and I
Thank
just
you.
I
Thank
just
you.
realized that I need to just do what I need to do, and I need to do what makes me happy. And if it
Wow.
doesn't really make anyone else happy, then it's not my job. It's their job to make them happy.
Themselves happy.
So
I'm not sure if the audience are getting where I'm coming from. This is a 22-year-old young lady, and she's talking as though she's got like 50 years of life experience. This is just beautiful to hear. Thank you so very much for sharing this kind of depth of knowledge and understanding, Louisa.
thank you.
It's wonderful, really is. So I'm going to ask a question. A little Dicky Bird also told me that you've moved into a little different realm. These days you're helping people, but you're also helping people through your voice and lyrics. So
Yeah.
you've started to sort of pen to paper, haven't you? Please help us understand.
Yeah, so well, over the past year or so, I've started to write my own music, which I never would have even dreamed of before, to be honest, because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when I started.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why it's so important to just do it, because you never know what will come from it. Um, but I think it's also really important to have things to say. And it's a really good way of me saying what I need to say in like an almost like therapy way.
Oh,
Um, Yeah,
That
I've just really got into it.
that was what I was going to say to yourself. It's just so beautifully said. I mean, lyrics themselves. I know people who attach to songs because it really resonates with them. Not only just the melody and the nuances, but the actual lyrics themselves.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get yourself into a place to understand? Because there's not a course out there saying, "Hey, let me make you the best lyricist in the world." It's like it has to be really authentic, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I think like with anything, it's repetition because you need to start somewhere. And I think the biggest starting point is you need to have something to say.
Mm,
But at the beginning, I didn't have anything to say, so I think it's just a case of like who you are, and like if you don't have anything to say, just kind of talk about what you've experienced in your life, or just write down little notes about what you do or don't like, or
brilliant.
if you're not a big fan of somebody, or if this thing is annoying you, or if you love someone, or just anything. Just start with the things that make you feel something. It doesn't matter if it's good or
Mm.
bad, just you just got to feel it. And then just start writing like a diary, and
Okay.
then kind of putting the melody to it, really.
And I
um
suppose the melody comes later, but I just love that section. Second, like a diary.
yeah.
Are you worried about it being in rhyme, or does that make sense? Are you thinking about these things first, or you just putting pen to paper and say, "Look, this is
No,
how
you're
I'm
just,
feeling right now."
yeah, it's like word vomit. It's literally you're just blurting it
I
out.
love that. Yeah, word bombing. I
And
love it.
yeah, it's literally like that. And obviously, I'm not, well, I wasn't a professional at the start. I think you literally start somewhere with anything. Like, I didn't know what I was doing a year ago, so
Mm.
it's fine.
Life
As
evolves,
long
life
as you have
changes, right?
some, yeah, exactly. And now I feel like I'm pretty good at it. So you just
No
got to
doubt.
keep going, and you just got to have something to say, and everything else will come. And you have people around you that can help you. Just make sure that you have someone that kind of knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
to work alongside you, like a kind of like a mentor or a co-writer. Or but this applies to anything. As long as the person that's, with you knows what they're doing, then you can achieve anything if you've got the passion.
Hmm. There's something you said there just a moment ago. Just it just sort of really resonated with me, where you said, just do it, just start it, and start writing, just word
Yeah.
bomb, just get it out of your head. That basically leads to something that we always talk about, the empower hour, where self-empowerment comes from self-belief, self-understanding, right?
Yeah.
This is what the core of this show is the empower hour. So
Yeah.
there's an air of relentlessness that's I can feel in you, and it seems to be very consistent with all of our guests. But it seems to be much more right now, this moment, where if you've missed, somebody who's basically getting deterred, self-destructively writing stuff down, but then thinking, "Oh, I'm never going to do this." How important is relentlessness to continue and keep at it, no matter what, whether you think it sounds stupid or not?
Yeah. I think you need it in every aspect of your life,
Wow.
because otherwise you're not going to push forward, are you? That's just how I see it. And sometimes I do it without even realizing, and I think a lot of people do, because
Mm,
if we didn't have it, we wouldn't still be here. Like, we would have just given up.
I love it.
And it's important to just, yeah, just keep doing it.
At it.
And I've done it without, as I'm even talking about it, I'm thinking I've literally done this without even thinking about it. You just have that something in you, and that's why I think it's really important to do something, or
Mm,
be around people that make you happy, and do things that you love, because otherwise you've got no, I don't want to say purpose, but that's just how I'd word it. Like, otherwise you've got no purpose. Like, if you're unhappy in every aspect of your life, whether it's your job, your
mhm.
family, then your relationship, the color of your walls, anything, then what's the point? You need to have that one thing, or
The
for some
drive.
people 10 things that drive you, that make you want to live.
Wonderful.
It's really as simple as that.
Yeah, and what you just said there is that you've actually now started to identify who you are,
Yeah.
and you're starting to see how what you want your world to look like, and also being able to take that emotion out. Now we touched about the emotion and therapy.
Yeah.
Do I've some of the most favorite and most powerful, even there we are, look at the track that you sang, some of Whitney Houston's track, "I Will Always Love You," from The Bodyguard. Now in
Yeah.
that principle, it's actually pouring out one's heart, isn't it? And it's
Mm.
also it's also a journey, but really it's actually self-therapy. It's making that statement, isn't it? Is that
Yeah.
something I'm getting, or am I getting it wrong?
No, definitely, it really is. It's like a healing process as well. Um, like doing all this stuff for yourself, and in my case, writing a song is like letting it go. And
Ah,
personally, I find I find it hard to let things go. So when I've written about it, or even if I've spoken about it and let it out, it
mhm.
kind of is like a release, and it's a healing process, I think.
Wonderful. Now, the people who are listening, this is actually transferable onto anything you're doing in life,
Yeah,
whether you're a business person or a lecturer, a school teacher, or somebody who's trying to do some maybe intellectual studies, or go and do a further education, push themselves into that space. It's about creating that in that environment of support, but also it's you said earlier, it's you who's going to make the change, right? So you have
yeah,
to step up and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And do you find that when you've made that decision, that the world tends to service that and tends to plot for your success? Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I made a conscious decision about 3 weeks ago to start waking up really early,
Mhm.
because I read a book and it just said, like, basically the quote was, "Own your morning, elevate your life." And
Wow.
I literally live by it now. Because although it's so hard, not gonna lie, for me it was really hard. I would be so down some days. I couldn't really get out of bed until like 12. Not because I was tired, just because I just thought, what I don't. Why am I? What's the point?
Yeah. I've got nothing
Because
to
I
do,
wasn't
kind of thing.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I made a decision just to try it and see how it goes. And it takes a lot of willpower, it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of being consistent
Mm.
and drive, and really like saying to yourself, why are you not doing this? You need to do it. Do it. Get up now. Make sure you do it. Because you're not doing it for anyone else. It's so
Mm.
easy to do it when other people are telling you. As
Yeah.
soon as they leave, you'll go back to your old ways. So I thought, I'm never going to change, as in like personally, if I don't do this like for myself. And this week I found it really hard. I'm like 3 weeks in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually struggling a little bit this week.
Thank you.
But
Thank you for being honest. Yeah.
I've just got to keep going. And some days, I'll get out of bed half an hour later, so maybe 5:30 instead of 5. But I'm making progress. So as long as I do something every day, that gets me up there.
Do you know, this is so powerful. I'm not sure if the audience are listening and they're tuned in today. This is what makes stars. This is the real crux of things. That element of the volition we were talking about a moment ago. That means the energy in the mission itself, the activity, the ignition of self, and actually respecting yourself. And this is not about arrogance. This is about in fact, is the exact opposite, about loving yourself, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think it's really important to have a person that you love, like as in yourself, like,
Mhm.
because if you don't like what you see, or you don't like who the person is, then you're not going to work hard to for her or him.
Mm.
Um, and I really think it's important to make sure that that one person is your priority, like as in you,
Yeah.
not anybody else. And that's why I've kind of made these decisions, because
Well done.
I don't care if you know things don't work out how I thought they were going to, because I know they'll work out how they're meant to work out, as
Mm.
long as I work hard and be and just make sure I'm happy. That I think that's my
Give
biggest
it that.
goal.
Give it that 100%, because we teach our children not to be focusing on the winning. It's a participation, but more importantly, above the participation of something, it's the sheer grit of doing it,
Hmm.
starting it, getting on with it, and completing it
Yeah,
under the principle of one shrouded energy, which is actually to step up and say, did I really truly do my best?
yeah,
I
yeah,
can hear that in your voice.
yeah, definitely. I think that when you're kind of given everything as well, like I was at the start, you don't appreciate it as much.
Mhm.
And I wish that I could like go back and just appreciate it a little bit more. I know that by not saying I didn't appreciate it, but by not appreciating it as much as I would now, I
Yes.
definitely look back and think, you know what, I will never take anything for granted again, or no matter what it is, like even in personal life,
Mm.
literally. time with my family, even time with my friends. When you're sitting there and someone's talking to you and you want to say something but you don't say it.
Yeah,
Like, why
yeah,
didn't I
yeah.
ever not say it? Just say it. Just do it. Just be yourself.
Wonderful.
It's so
That
simple, but it's so hard.
I was going to say to you, you took the words out of my mouth there, Louisa. It's so simple, but it's not simple. It's
Not.
actually, it's that awakening. We spoke just a moment about, when earlier on in the first half, we were talking about your defining moment.
Yeah,
And one of your defining moment points was to say that being present, wasn't it? And
yeah.
this is what you've just touched on, is about being ultimately present and aware
Mm.
of your now. Now, if you, a bit of advice, if I can just move into a bit of advice conversation.
Yeah.
If somebody somebody was new at this industry or any industry per se, young, fiery, really, really energetic about their principles, what they want to do, even to the sense of your robustness of being told what to do, but that was still acceptable. It was still okay. You were, it was a part of the journey.
Yeah.
What tips would you give to them in the sense of if if you had to relive some of your moments, yeah,
Yeah.
what would you do differently? Not specifically like I
Um,
did that wrong or right, but maybe just reeling. What are the most significant, amazing energy moments that you had? What was it like standing on the stage with 20 million people listening to you, viewing? And
do you
what would
know
you do
what? It
being
it
present?
wouldn't really be like a career thing that I would have done differently, because I feel like I enjoyed and
Wow.
enjoy what I do. It
Mm.
would it would more be like personal choices that affected my career.
Hmm.
For example, relationships that I was in, or not letting things go and taking
Wow.
it to work with me,
Got it.
um, which again isn't being present. It would more be things like that, because I feel like I definitely appreciate everything that comes my way.
Bless you.
Um, but I don't, getting a rubbish text before you're about to go on stage and then taking it with you and not really being there with the people that are in the crowd,
Wow.
maybe that something like that.
Wow.
Because, at the end of the day, I think I'm human, and like if I was to get a bad text, I don't know, whatever it would, I don't know, who knows, whatever it would be, I didn't like it
Anything.
on my phone, I would take it with me, because it's hard not to,
It's the
because I
kind of
have a
person you
mind
are.
and it's playing on my mind, or whatever. I can't pinpoint what it would be, but if it was something, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
definitely change
So
that.
is that a I suppose you could say is kind of like creating. There's an army conversation here that says that son, when you go to an army, if there's a young lady, gentleman, whatever it is, they say, son, you better have a broad shoulders for all the crap that we're going to give you, and a
Yeah,
slippery back for when you got to shovel it off. It's kind of disassociating, isn't it? Quickly in that moment.
yeah,
This is magical for performers and for individuals, where there's a lovely saying that I think you shared it to me once when we were talking a few months back, I think it was, and you said something like, what others think of me is kind of none of my business, because if
yeah,
they're having a bad moment and they've sent a text, they're having the bad moment, not you. Is that right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think it is really hard to actually get that drilled in, because I still don't do it properly now. And I think it's definitely just a work in progress. I'm not sure if you'll ever get there, but you just got to keep working on it. And just remember, like my mum always taught me, like what other people say or do is not a reflection of what you're doing. It's just how they're
Wow.
feeling in that moment.
Wow.
Um, and it is so true. And when you kind of, not being patronizing to anybody that's younger, but when you do get older, you realize that that person's having a bad day, so they're being like that. And I notice it in myself. If I'm having a bad day, I will take it out on somebody else. And I even like I don't have as much ego anymore. I'm a bit like, oh yeah, actually, okay, sorry.
It
It's
just
so easy to do. It's so easy to do, but you just need to kind of keep like that all times, instead of being all over the place.
That's beautiful. And when we're talking about um yourself as a human being. I'm trying to take it just slightly in a different direction, with reference to people who want to get in there. What we've got such amounts of gems. Please, if you're watching this, you've got to rewind and listen to what Louisa is saying. It's just magical. It's as though you were listening to somebody a lot older than what you are, and without the patronizing context. It's not that. It's
It's
about
all
being
right.
very respectful to the mindset that you truly have. And this is why I wanted you on the Empower Hour, because I believe you're an embodiment of empowerment. So this is the whole beautiful power of what we're
Thank
trying to share.
you.
Thank you for being here. If I could take the move into a slightly different direction so we can help a little bit here.
Yeah.
I am asking you a question. Okay, so
Yeah.
lockdown. The world's kind of twisted and turned quite a lot. We went through a heavy allowance of isolation. You touched on it in the first half where we said about
Yeah.
keeping routines and structures. Now, what have you been doing? I've heard you've been focusing a lot on your voice and the vocal side of things, and other things that you have
Yeah.
been learning. What's been happening?
So I've made sure that I have a session a week of like vocal sessions and stuff just to keep myself kind of warmed up because it's like going to the gym really with your
Mm,
voice. It's a muscle at the end of the day. So if
muscle.
you don't use it for a long time, I know if I don't use my voice like then properly for a couple of weeks, it will feel weird when I sing properly again. Obviously,
Wow.
I sing every day, but when you do it properly, it's a bit different. Um,
Well, it's
so yeah, when you
professional, right?
don't exercise that muscle, yeah,
Yeah.
when you don't exercise it, it kind of feels a bit weird when you sing.
Is it fair to
With,
say something? Fair to say something like when obviously if you haven't weight trained uh,
yeah,
for a period of time, if you miss one session, it's equivalence of losing 3 weeks worth of practice and
yeah,
effort.
it's
So,
exactly like that. Yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
you have to keep on top of it. So yeah, I've just been doing warm ups with my vocal coach, and he has this brand called Vocal Tubes, and they're basically these long tubes, and you kind of your voice kind of gets a massive exercise out of them. You
Okay.
blow them into water, so basically you're just blowing through a straw. You know when you're a kid and you just blow bubbles in your drink.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
basically like that, but with the scales. And the more water you put in the bottle, the harder it is. So you kind of really giving your voice a workout.
S-
Um,
So
it's
it
actually
creates
really hard.
resistance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So it's like a glass of water or something,
Yeah,
and then you
and you
put the tube
literally
in
just
them
blow in and like do the scales
and the scales.
and
Yeah.
do all these kind of vocal exercises.
And it,
Um,
it just pulled
and
a bit of resistance on your voice. I suppose I get that. I
yeah,
get it. So it's like a
exactly
it's like
right.
a pushing. Love it.
Yeah, and it really opens up your throat, really feels good afterwards, and then you're ready to just like go crazy. Um, but I've been doing a lot of that and reading that book that I was telling you about, the 5 a.m. Club. So I've been doing
Yeah,
that
the 5
constantly.
a.m. club. You got to hit that up. I mean, please, we'll try and put
So
one in
good.
the post, but it's very, very good. It's about waking up that morning magic, isn't it? The 5 a.m.
Yeah.
club. Yeah.
Obviously,
And
anybody
morning
that
miracle.
knows me would have been like, really? You're getting up early? But oh, it has really changed my whole outlook on everything.
It's a key. Waking up early gives you that privacy. That's that time to set the day up, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You
So
get so much done.
yeah, I cannot believe how fast the time is disappearing and
I
going.
know.
About 4 minutes. It's been an
I
absolute
know. I've
buzz.
just had
It's been a
a
it's been a buzz. I'm going to ask you a few questions, if you don't
yeah,
mind. At this particular time, we talk about what we classify as the legacy moment or the legacy in your life. A legacy is something that we leave, something that
yeah,
we're going to be remembered by. Some people call it the epitaph moment. Without the morbidity of it, it's the
yeah,
beauty of leaving something here. There's a principle that says you're not taking anything with you. You're going to take it, you're going to leave it all here. So
yeah,
in there's a deeper question that we ask everybody. So the question is that you're not going to take it all with you. Of course, it's
yeah.
logical. We're going to leave it all here. But the deeper
Hmm.
question is, what will you leave here? How will people remember Louisa Johnson? You know,
Yeah.
what would you like on your epitaph to be remembered by?
I just want to be remembered for being that voice that people feel like they didn't have.
Hmm.
Um, and I want to bring that voice out in people that didn't think they had it. Like
Wow.
I want to be, the person that stands up for themselves and puts themselves puts themselves first and helps other people find
Beautiful.
happiness.
Beautiful.
And obviously through music, but also through my personality, I feel like
Mhm.
I just really want to show that it's important to put yourself first and find happiness because since I've done it, obviously it's a journey and it doesn't happen overnight and it's not going you're never going to be 100% like
Yeah.
oh life is just brilliant because it just doesn't work like that. There's always new challenges, but I want to be that voice for people that didn't think they had it.
Louisa, this is magical, and it sure does emanate from yourself in that context of that connection with people, just making them happy. This is just
Yeah.
beautiful to hear, and I hope everybody has just really, really got to kind of know during this Empower Hour with Louisa Johnson, the vocalist, the singer, and the star in essence, how how we've got to know you as a person more so than just your singing ability and information of such as that. I think how deep you are as a human soul, as a person who's very present right now. There are, being remembered for the person who basically allowed people to use their voice, maybe connected themselves with the voice and got them to
Yeah.
express themselves in that way. That's such a beautiful legacy to leave on this planet. There are a few last little things that I ask myself. And at this particular point in the interview, I wish I had 2 hours with you, Lisa. Louisa,
I
we can
know.
come back, I think. One of the things I'm going to ask you is, are there any words of wisdom? What would you leave our audience with? This relentlessness energy, this humility, but what would
Yeah.
you like to be leaving people? What is the quote that really resonates with you as a human being?
Um, so my favorite quote is "Feed your soul." Um,
Wow.
I actually have it on my wall in my living room because it just reminds me of good things, and it kind of relates to anything. Like
Mm.
feed what makes you happy. Feed the person that not everyone knows. Feed the person that's like in there, not the person that goes to work, not the person that goes out with their
Wow.
friends, not the person that tries to be someone. Just feed that.
Feed
Feed the
yourself.
child, basically, like the child in you. Um, I just really needed to see it one day, and it popped up, and I was just like, wow. And ever since then, it's just relevant to every part of my life.
Wow. Do you know, I've got to say to yourself, feed your soul, and just to leave it on a jovial basis, well, feed your soul, but keep it connected, keep it to learn yourself, etc. But
Mm.
also feed your tummy, feed your soul. It makes you feel good as well. I think that's a really
Yeah,
important one. There's lots of listeners out here who are going to be on that
that's
way.
important too.
Louisa, I am going to say to yourself, today we have had the pleasure of having you share some words of wisdom, a part of your life, how techniques, how what you've shared with the world. This is the Empower Hour show live on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Sukhi Wahiwala official content. Louisa, on behalf of myself, the audience, Salam Radio, our sponsor, and all of the Inspired Tribe globally, I want to truly, humbly thank you for being our guest this evening on episode 56.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to everybody that tuned in and will watch later. And hi.
Amazing. So, if anybody else is with us today, please remember this is the Empower Hour series. We are totally dedicated, and myself being Sukhi Wahiwala and the whole team, Abstract PR, Amgola, Gary Setterfield, Jatinda Palahar, and the whole of Salam Radio team. We are super dedicated towards giving you great content. Please do. Connect with us below, give us your comments, give us your thoughts, and even if you've got people that we can bring onto this platform as an Empower Hour guest, please let us know. Can I just request, please do subscribe. It really supports us getting visual, getting seen. And then also, if you can, that'd be really, really wonderful. Share this with people who you know are going to be really touched by Louisa's journey and her story and her words of wisdom at such a beautiful young age as well. So I will see you again next week, every Tuesday. This is the Empower Hour show every Tuesday between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the evening. Thank you so very much. I wish I could have stayed here for another hour with Louisa. Thank you, Louisa, and good
Thank
night to
you.
everybody.